صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة أن لا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم تدعون نحن أولياؤكم في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ولكم فيها ما تشتهي أنفسكم ولكم فيها ما تدعون نزلا من غفور رحيم ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما برحمة اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره عظيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Almighty and eternal Father, we exalt and magnify your glorious name for yet another awesome opportunity to be alive. We ascribe honor, glory, and praise for the blessings attached to this day. Go with us as we sojourn pilgrims path. We are weak, but thou art mighty. Hold us with thy powerful hand. Preserve us from sudden death and pestilence of today. Breathe on us your breath. Fill us with new life. Grant us favor, renewed strength, inner peace and joy.
Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. You may kindly take your seat. For continuation of your testimony before this Commission of Enquiry into Local Government Councils and related matters, I want to remind you again that you are still on the oath before I hand you over to Madam Chair for us to proceed. Thank you. Madam Chair, over to you.
Good afternoon, Mayor Bensouda.
Good afternoon.
You're welcome back.
Thank you.
Council, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Commissioners, everyone present. And we will be proceeding with the issues regarding the trucks. Now, was a fixed deposit account open?
I believe it should have been done.
It should have been. But do we know whether it was open?
I cannot confirm that.
Okay. If you are given time to confirm that, will you be able to confirm that?
I can ask the CEO that was there.
Okay. Now, we know that the 4 million instead was paid to Quantum Limited. We have the voucher number 1887. Do you recognize that voucher?
Yes, the voucher says 4 million paid to
Jim Gay, for the sales manager for S-Pass models, to be admitted into evidence and marked as an exhibit.
A Carnegie Municipal Council payment voucher dated 15th of March 2019, and the payee is Quantum Net Limited. Transactions were done through Trust Bank, and the amount transferred was
015. Thank you. Yes, 1.3.6 requires that there be a fixed deposit account. So we don't see an evidence of deposit account, fixed deposit account, but what we see is a payment directly made to Quantum, correct?
Yes.
Good. Now, on what basis was that payment made directly to Quantum?
So in your document you provided just now, there's a page you noted duty, and there's a letter there titled Restructuring of Loan Facility,
Right.
dated, I think, September 2019. So when I read the letter, it was indicating that KMC had not yet funded the fixed deposit account and was asking Ajib for more time because there was unpredicted duty charged of 13.1 million. So that indicates to me that the fixed deposit was not funded, and the 4 million here is a part payment.
Okay. Now, the part payment of what?
Towards the trucks.
Towards the trucks. Is that
1.1 million.
yes? So the agreement was not varied, was it?
Say it again, sorry.
The agreement was not varied at any point.
the issue, because if I can understand you're trying to establish the fact that the agreement is saying that the fixed deposit of 4 million ought to have been deposited in a council account at Ajib Bank.
Right.
And you are asking the question, why was it paid to Espas Motors?
Yes.
Is that the question?
Yes.
Can we have clarity on the answer to that? Because
Yes.
I cannot get the answer. I do understand that the 4 million is advance payment. 4 million is supposed to be an advance payment as per what you have agreed in the agreement. But the answer to the question, I cannot get it.
Okay, so
Why was it not paid as per what is contained in the agreement at the Ajib Bank? Being a council account maintained at Ajib Bank, which they would have a lien on.
yes, so what I understand from the documents
Yes.
and what my memory can serve is that the numbers 4 are for two different activities, but because they are 4 million, it creates confusion. The 4 million voucher is advance payment.
Technical specification. 1.3.3, the supplier should provide a list of all essential spare parts and the current prices. And you go to 1.3.5, the procurement of the waste of the trucks will be done by the ward development committees and facilitated by the KMC. Furthermore, the trucks themselves will serve as guarantors of security to the facility or for Espas, and the trucks will be in joint name of Espas and the WDCs. Now, 1.3.6, Council will maintain a fixed deposit account in the books of Ajib Limited with a minimum balance of $4 million at all times. Shortfalls in monthly installments will be recovered from this fixed deposit. Now, the agreement is that the ward committees would be financing the trucks, correct?
Yes.
Good. And so there would not be any need for an advance payment from KMC directly unless there were shortfalls from the ward development committees. You understand that? So if the committees are not paying as required, then KMC perhaps may have an obligation to pay. That is the essence of the formula.
Yes, so the formula was that the trucks would be charging,
Right.
and then reporting to the WDCs,
Right.
and KMC would subsidize the payment of the trucks will be done by the ward development committees and facilitated by KMC. Furthermore, the trucks themselves would serve as a guarantor security to the facility or for Espas, and trucks would be in the joint name of Espas and the WDCs.
Now, what does that mean, that paragraph?
Well, the WDCs were the ones to purchase the truck through the facilitation of KMC.
Is that what obtained in actual fact?
Well, yeah, I guess facilitation is a broad word. I don't know whether the administration at the time were doing an advance payment towards the trucks. Maybe the WDCs would pay back. But what I know is during the period when the agreement was signed to the period when the trucks came, there was raging debates about the preparedness and capacity of WDCs to actually run this service effectively with full accountability. And I remember it was agreed through the Waterways Committee that now let them centralize the operation through the council administration.
Right. So what was signed by the parties, KMC and Espas Motors?
Before they paid back, that was also problematic. So it was a first of its kind. Of course, in hindsight, we think this is where we could have improved, this is where we could have done it better. And like I said, I don't know what initiated us to write to the Ministry of Justice for advice, but you could see we initiated that process. But of course they said, well, you should have asked us. It would have been better to ask us before you go ahead and sign the contract. But I guess it was part of the learning curve.
All right. Yeah. Now, so back to the 4 million.
Yes.
If it is paid as an advance payment, did the contract agreement feature or provide for any clause for advance payment by council itself?
Well, the contract says the amount should be paid within a 3-year period. In 2019, there was a submission to the ministry. No, sorry, this is 2018. Sorry. Okay, this was 2018 supplementary budget request to the ministry. I brought it because there was another issue we were discussing. But usually there's violence, and there should be a request for supplementary budget. I could find one for 2018, but not for 2019.
Okay, so it will be correct to say that the council knew or realized that the WDCs could not fund this project sometime in 2020.
No, sometime in 2019, before the truck kicked off. Because before we went operational, the system had already changed. So okay. Council had run the project from the beginning.
That was after the trucks were purchased or before the trucks were purchased?
I believe some point during the year of 2019.
2019.
But before the trucks arrived. The councillors were not happy with it. They wanted to run the trucks themselves. But after the pushback from the administration and my advice, we believe that it would be very risky for them to run the trucks.
But all this happened after the contracts were signed?
I believe so.
Now, which shows that there was no feasibility studies to determine the pros and the cons of the project prior to the contract was signed.
So the project manager was running surveys, what I remember. What he was running was different surveys. But in terms of, so I have some sheets here about the routes he developed and the potential prices. He was running surveys, but that's why I was trying to get a hold of him to see if he had any project documents. But so far, this is what he has on his email, he said.
Okay. So, council, before signing the contract, were not presented with a feasibility study to show evidence, at least evidence of the capabilities of the WDCs to fund this?
One was, can we approach our sister councils? So this can be a Greater Banjul area project. The other was, can we do hire purchase? Can we lease? Can we hire finance? Can we approach financiers? Can we approach vendors? So I think there was a lot of, like in the local language, Lambert, to know whether this is feasible or not.
Okay. Yeah. Now, Espas Motors were able to have an agreement with KMC. Were they funding the project through pre-financing?
So when we tendered, I believe based on my memory, there was two respondents. I think there was TK Motors and I think there was Espas. But I think Espas's advantage is their group owns a bank, which is Ajib. So they were in a position to do what the council was in a position to engage on, which is pre-financing. Because we don't want to take the loan, we don't have any collateral to give them, we cannot guarantee them, we cannot get them government guarantees. So who would be able to take the risk? You know, and they were the only ones in that position.
Okay. Now, Espas Motors got the financing from Ajib Bank. Yes. And then KMC, is there any contract that exists between KMC and Ajib Bank?
I believe Ajib has been a banker for KMC even before we have arrived.
Right.
And we were told before we had arrived, they had once loaned KMC for some market development or something. So they were already a partner of KMC separate from Espas.
Yes, so for this agreement, is there any agreement that you have, KMC, with Ajib Bank in relation to the trucks? Direct agreement with
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Now, so that the liability or the obligation is between two Espas Motors.
Yes, so the agreement is as KMC pays more, the trucks would be transferred to KMC's name, and what we don't pay will still remain in Espas's name. If there's any default, then we look at what money was spent and we share the trucks.
Okay, where is that stated in the agreement? Do we have that in the agreement?
I think it's in one of your clauses where it says the trucks will serve as a guarantee.
Yes, a truck will serve as a guarantee. Now, what does that mean?
So when there's a guarantee
from KMC, signed by Jaya Cham on the 17th of September 2019, addressed to Ajib, the managing director of Ajib Bank, which raised the facility restructuring, that is to inform you that our agreement with you to maintain a 4 million deposit account in your bank as a measure to meet any shortfalls of the performance of our WDC operational account is still in place. Is there an agreement between, I had asked this question, is there an agreement between KMC and Ajib Bank?
Not to my knowledge. I believe he was referring to the agreement with Espas.
Okay. So that the reason why Jayacham wrote this is that when Ajib Bank was questioned as what authority they have going after KMC, because there is no agreement between Ajib Bank and KMC. They said they were authorized by Espas Motors to go after KMC. But would that be proper? Because there is no agreement between Ajib Bank and KMC.
So our agreement is with Espas, not Ajib Bank.
Not Ajib Bank.
So his letter should have been addressed to Espas and not Ajib Bank.
And not Ajib Bank. Good. Now the KMC subsequently paid monies to Quantum,
which is Espas parent company.
Which is Espas parent company. And then eventually, within 3 years, the finance was completed.
Yes.
Would that not amount to a loan?
No, so we were avoiding, so a loan would imply several things. Would imply that if we default,
right,
there's consequences.
Right.
Would imply that we have to give collateral.
Right.
You know, so
there were instrumental payments, which were not provided for by the contract. So that if there was no direct purchase from KMC to from KMC to Espas Motors, there was no agreement for a direct purchase, which means KMC is engaged in a loan transaction from our point of view. Now, if you were to say, for instance, it's not a loan transaction, what would it be?
So it's not a loan transactions. Transactions such as this can come in many forms. Public-private partnerships, joint investments. We can have a SPV, special purpose vehicle. This is, you can have a hire purchase, you can have a lease. This is, like I said, pre-financing arrangement. So it doesn't fall under the category of a loan, because our restriction would be, how do we guarantee this? How do we provide collateral which would put the assets and wealth of the taxpayer at risk, which would need the, like I said, the ministerial approval. That's why we sent that to the Ministry of Lands. The agreement we sent to the Ministry of Lands, and they said, no, we don't have the capacity. We will forward it to our sister ministry, which is the Ministry of Justice, who gave all these advices and sent back to us through the Ministry of Lands. So it doesn't fall under the category of a loan. But like I said, there's many things that could have been done better.
Where was that?
Well, there was a letter I sent to you, I believe. We wrote a letter to the ministry requesting a duty waiver, which is standard, but they refused. I believe I have their rejection letter here.
Yes.
But there was a lot of push and pull in the background, which is not administrative, but rather political. But at the end of the day, in their letter dated 3rd October 2019, they said this is from the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs.
May Bensouda kindly
Sure.
give the lead counsel the letter to check. Then when we admit it, you can read it out.
So this is a letter from the Ministry of Finance to Ministry of Lands in reaction to our request.
We applied to tender the letter from the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, addressed to the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Lands, Regional Government and Religious Affairs. Says application for duty waiver on the 3rd of October 2019 is the date.
Etc., dated 28th September 2019, on the above subject matter on behalf of the Kanife Municipal Council for duty and VAT exemption on waste management trucks procured through Espas Motors. The Ministry is hereby informing you that your request for duty waiver cannot be granted. Therefore, KMC is advised to pay all taxes associated with the above item. In case of government buying a vehicle, the duty is waived after approval from the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs. And KMC, all our vehicles, all our SUVs have been purchased in the same manner.
All right. So, but this is the problem, because this was not, I'm not trying to say that they should not have, or they should have denied you the duty waiver application. Now, you've had your own experiences with the Ministry of Finance, like you've said, with respect to your application, so you know whether positive or negative, what was the norm. But here, strictly speaking, in relation to contracts, for instance, you have an agreement where even the identification of the parties in the contract is a problem. It's also been outlined by the legal opinion. It says introductory part of the agreement, issues that were highlighted by in legal opinion. This part of the agreement does not clearly identify the proper parties to the contract, and the recommendations were Article 1.3.5 of the agreement makes reference to Ward Development Committee who will have joint ownership with Espas Motors over the compactor truck. It is imperative that the Ward Development Committee be a party to the agreement. Thus, the introductory part of the agreement needs to be rewarded. So you see, so the opinion is saying, even though the introductory part which says the parties are KMC and Espas Motors, in the text of the contract, KMC should not have been a party either because of the obligations, or there be a tripartite agreement between KMC, the ward committees, and the Espas Motors. You see that?
Well, I can assure you that's not the reason for the rejection of the duty waiver. Like I said, there's a lot that was happening behind the scenes. But the KMC always gets duty waivers on all our procurements of vehicles. Even when we get donated items, we get duty waivers. So it's a standard between KMC and the GRA to get a duty waiver. But in this case, they rejected it. And so we had to get our trucks out.
So there was an expectation that there would be a duty waiver based on previous experiences.
Of course, we get duty waivers all the time.
But you will also understand that from our point of view, like you said, there may be reasons as to the rejection, but we cannot delve on that because of the fact that what we do as lawyers is just to look at the documentation and to see as to whether what was supposed to be done was done.
Did you look into what is the cost element that SPAS was going to benefit from this transaction to allow you to ask for duty waiver? Because it just makes sense. If you have to ask for duty waiver, the assumption is that government gives council duty waiver knowing, for example, where you are the one that is procuring, you are not giving it to a company to do, then perhaps you will be entitled as a council to have the duty, because you are taking direct money from your revenue in purchasing items that are beneficial and crucial to the execution of your functions. So therefore, if you seek duty waiver, it should be presumed that government would consider granting that. But where it is a company that is purchasing for you and has factored profit, has factored cost, and all of that element, do you think it's prudent to have requested for duty waiver?
Yes, because we have got duty waiver from vehicles we have bought from SPAS.
From SPAS?
Yes, in the same financing model. We even bought trucks through our CAP project, SPAS, and we got duty waiver.
Privilege that the procuring organizations have based on their arrangement with Minister of Finance than a right that the procuring organizations have in relation to procurement for duty waiver, correct?
I would say it would be a privilege if you were a private entity,
right.
If you're a public entity which belongs to the people. It's just more pain for the people, so I wouldn't consider it a privilege. I say it's a right.
Okay, so a right will suggest that it is provided somewhere in regulations, because financial institutions or government institutions are guided by regulation. So, for instance, there must have been a clause or a law that states that when procuring vehicles or engaging in procurement, that government should or shall provide duty waiver. Do we have that?
Well, I believe GRA has a list of duty waiver exempt, or people who are qualified for duty waiver. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's their decision. But we believe that KMC is qualified because we have gotten duty waivers before this transaction. We have gotten duty waivers after this transaction. And even in the same transaction, where we bought the same trucks from SPAS with the same financing scheme, we got duty waivers. It was only this unique situation.
No, I understand that. I understand that. I understand what you're trying to say. My point is, like I said initially, whether Minister of Finance or GRA through Minister of Finance should grant the duty waiver or not. That's not the argument that we have as lawyers, or we can make. That's purely between the relationship between KMC and GRA or Ministry of Finance. But my point I'm trying to make is whether the qualification to apply for duty waiver is automatic. That when you say automatic is once you are qualified, duty waiver must be granted. So the question would be whether there is a law that states that once you are qualified, duty waiver must be granted, so that government or through Minister of Finance and GRA would not be proper if the law provides that they should or they must provide duty waiver and they did not.
I think they have their best to ask, and the CEO would know better. But from my experience and understanding, they have a list of classified organizations who can qualify for duty waiver, and KMC is one of them.
Yeah, qualified to apply for it. That's what I.
Yes, yeah, just to apply for it.
Okay. Now the duty waiver as well. Just please give us a clarity on the duty waiver. Okay. It was more verbal than written.
I cannot.
You cannot.
All I remember, there was a big fight.
Okay, so that was why I am trying to highlight that part where the rejection was way after the payment was done. Now Ajib Bank or SPAS models. Did KMC engage Ajib Bank before the the tenders were advertised?
I believe the administration engaged during the proof of concept all the potential vehicle vendors,
Okay, so
including Espas.
at the same time, or was one company given privilege of being engaged in relation to this purchase prior to the advertisement?
I believe all should have been engaged. The big ones, the credible.
The big ones. Now I have, sorry, I'm trying to look at my reading glasses. I have the Carnival Municipal Council Contracts Committee meeting dated the 14th of January 2019. Now, in the minutes of meeting, we have fourth paragraph. It reads that the company, the MD explained, that is the MD of Espas, explained he knew they could provide, the facility council was looking, but that they could not guarantee, what they could not guarantee was delivery of the trucks within the proposed time frame. As a result, they contacted their supplier to inquire, but the result was delivery of the consignment could not take place in March 2019. The reason being, council wanted brand new customized compactors. Now, he additionally added that they were made to believe that since the compactors were requested by the wards and they will be paying for it, the process may not require GPA regulations. Thus, they went further to invite the manufacturing company to come on the ground and do a survey so that the compactors will be environmentally friendly and fit for purpose. So we have seen communications like this.
Yeah.
That showed us that Espas was engaged. Even in 2018, Espas was engaged, and then there was deep conversation and negotiation with respect to the trucks well before they started to realize that they have to follow GPA regulations. Were you aware of this?
Yes, so what I was aware was they were doing proof of concept,
Right.
Knowing if there was vendors who are able to do it. But like you said, in that conversation, they were thinking that maybe they can go ahead because it's
Nitty-gritties of the contract. So you can see even the contract itself showed exactly what they were saying in the minutes of the 14th January 2019, that the agreement is between Espas Motors and the World Development Committees who would be financing the trust. So that even maintained up to the time of in March 2019 when the contract was signed.
So I think that was not practicable. It was not possible for WDCs to enter into contract without KMC, and I think this is why they were pushed to go through the proper procedure, because the way they were going was not the proper procedure as per the council's opinion.
Yes, but they still didn't go through the proper procedure as the issue. So they signed at the time, because the sign of the contract is when the obligations are set out and agreed upon, right? So that if the position has shifted that from the WDC financing this to KMC itself financing it, the evidence of that will show in the contract. But if you look at the terms of the contract, it still depicts the idea that the WDC will be financing this.
But in the headline of the contract, you will see this agreement is between KMC and Espas Moto. But in the fine print, like you said, the idea is KMC will facilitate on behalf of the WDC.
Yes.
But like I said, they could not engage Espas without GPPA approval and without council approval. That's why what I mean, they were pushed to go through the proper procurement process.
Yes.
Now, in terms of the arrangements made in the contract, that's where I agree that that could have been done better. We could have waited for the consultation of the Ministry of Justice, which is not obligatory, but is good. It's a good idea to do it. Like I said, I don't know what was the initiative to engage Ministry of Justice after the fact, but it was a bright idea by somebody. I'm not sure whether it was through the council or whether it was through a committee.
Now, do we know whether there was a council resolution to change position from the WDCs engaging in financing this project to the council itself directly financing this project?
So I don't think it was a council resolution. What I do remember, it was a series of discussions between the Waste Ward Committee and the council as a body. So like I said before, sometimes the council agrees that this is the way forward, this is the best way forward, but sometimes that is not necessarily drafted into a resolution. One thing I can remember, the councillors were not very happy about that.
Yes.
They wanted to maintain control over the trucks, but the better judgment of the administration was, they are the accounting officers of council, and if they are supposed to facilitate, they must be in control.
So, even in the absence of a resolution, do we have minutes of meetings that would show that the position of the council have shifted from the WDC taking charge to council itself?
We would have to do some digging during that period to know whether that was featured in the discussions, but my giving of evidence is I remember it was an issue because I was also very fearful of the WDCs controlling these very expensive multi-million-dollar machines, and also handling cash that cannot be, fully accounted for by the CEO. So I remember I had this pushback from them as well.
So in that case, is there a need for council to arrive at a decision?
Yes, like I said, it was agreed eventually after deliberations that this is the best course of action.
Yes. So again, how would we see evidence of that agreement?
That's why I said it has to be something that should be dug out in the minutes of the discussions during that period. But what I am testifying today is I remember that agreement.
So if you are to be given time here against Monday, will you be able to tell us whether you have that or not?
Well, I'll be traveling. I'm not sure how long we'll be here, but I can ask the clerk to search for it, and of course, when we find it, we can provide.
I will advise that you perhaps communicate to the council.
Yes.
The commissioners in advance, so that if you have a letter, they will be better advised as to your travel arrangements, so that that would not, if the time we have, that would not in any way affect your travel. Because that would not be the intention. Because if it is abrupt, I wouldn't think they can do anything about it. So now, the decisions of council in relation to shifting position, in relation to the signing of the contract. So when the contract was signed, what would you say was the decision of council in giving a go-ahead for council to sign an agreement with ESPAS?
So there should be GPPA approval and there should be a council decision on the matter.
Okay. Now, the approval, of course, will stem from we have seen the GPPA approval, but we have not seen General Council's approval or agreement on the matter, stating clearly in no uncertain terms that came from the resolution.
So 31st October 2018, Resolution 1, whereas members discussed the need to address the problem associated with waste collection and management, whereas members agreed to work with Q Group to ensure the procurement of 19 waste collection vehicles for the 19 wards within the municipality, resolved that the loan agreement with Q Group be effected and council serve as guarantor to 19 wards to ensure the delivery of the vehicles.
Yes. So this was certainly before the approval from GPA, correct?
Yes.
Now, in 2018, this was certainly before the other would be supplies, because it was a restricted tender before they were even contacted.
Yep. So in line with what I've said before, initially the idea was how does the WDC work with ESPAS directly?
Yes. Yes.
So I think this is the spirit of that resolution in the General Council.
Right.
Where the council is under the impression that they would partner as WDCs with ESPAS.
Right.
But the situation evolved.
Right. Yeah. Now, my point is, if as far back as 2018, ESPAS Motors have already had an edge and an agreement with KMC For instance, they've already understanding that even, and it is clearly stated in the resolution, that the KMC should go ahead and work with experts in this. And then subsequently in 2019, you have advertisements for bids being rolled out. Would that not defeat the purpose of transparency and fairness in bid processes?
So not really. So if I could give you some context,
right.
This was the council being 3 months in office.
Yes.
Not abreast with operations of council. This was when the councillors felt that, okay, now we're going to work with these vendors.
Right.
And then subsequently we got advice, I believe, that this is not a good idea.
Yes.
This would not be by process.
Right.
You guys have to go through a tender, through your contracts committee. That's when the situation evolved. Now, of course, if the same vendor the councillors wanted to partner with bids in that competitive process and eventually wins that competitive process, people might say, okay, he already started chatting with them, etc., etc., etc. I mean, if it looks bad, doesn't mean it's bad. As far as the right procedures were followed, when the decision was making, it was the best decision at the time to the best of our ability. It was truly the best product with the best financing scheme and the best prices at the time. Then it's a good purchase on behalf of the council.
Yes, so not the purchase can be good.
Yeah.
The outcome can in fact be good. The intention would be to serve the people, which no one should can question. The idea here is the legitimacy of the process, so that if already through several deliberations that experts were invited, they had meetings with council, with contracts committees, as far back as 2018, up to a point that the General Council was satisfied, and they came up with a decision that now this contract will be awarded to experts motors. Yeah. Now you have 2019, and they said that resolution I read to you, the minutes of meeting I read to you, saying, well, we have to follow procurement process, we have to regularize. It seems more of a formality than a fair process to other bidders.
So it is a fair process. I know it can look a certain way, but certainly the problem is when the bids were advertised, there is no respondents. So the problem is experts cannot be competed, and that is the fact that's been proven with all the similar bids that they have been winning recently with Birkama Area Council, Banjul City Council, even with the OIC vehicles, because they're the only group that has a bank as part of their makeup. So the problem was lack of choice. I mean, I would support your argument, or your argument may have some sort of credibility if the bids came and there was, let's say, Shami Mahdi is also offering similar package, CFAO is offering similar package, but I mean, nobody can compete them. That's the challenge, that's the problem.
But someone can say that the terms and the requirements would have been carved out to suit the already agreed supply.
Not really. I mean, the biggest problem for us was the ability of the vendor to refinance.
Right.
I think that was the challenge. We would have liked it even to be longer, because council has many priorities, given that waste management, even though waste management is our number one problem.
Right.
I think that was the edge for many of us, the ability that, okay, now we can get these working tools without having to shell out $100 million.
Now, as at the time the council arrived to a resolution to award the contract, going by that resolution, to Espas Motors, what was the issue with respect to engaging other suppliers at the time, because they were not engaged in this period?
Yeah, so this is not a contract. I think this is sort of an agreement to work with them. It could be an MOU, it could be go ahead, I give you the approval to go ahead and start building some sort of partnership. But like I said, soon after, we would have to go back and talk to the contracts committee, but I believe it's from one of the experts who said, no, this has to be through a proper procurement process, either an expert or the lawyer. But certainly we were advised that this is not the best course of action, and that's why it was reversed. Now, I remember specifically, during the bid, if I remember, when we were sitting on the council floor, TK Motors had also bidded. But the issue for the councillors was they were not in a position to pre-finance. They wanted a 3-month payment plan, if my memory serves me correct. Now 3 months and 3 years, I mean, you cannot compare it.
Now, in 2019, January 2019, the position of the Council of the Contracts Committee did not change. I have a Contracts Committee meeting, minutes of the 14th of January 2019. Sorry, the 13th of June 2019, where still the question regarding the agreement was discussed. We'll see on page 1.8.
So,
do you please mind reading that?
This is contract committee meeting.
Yes.
Dated 13 June 2019.
Yes.
And 1.8, a question was raised about the 19 Ward Trucks contract agreement with Espas Motors, and management is assigned to share documents signed with the company for the experts in contract committee to verify and ensure it is not cancelled but the wards that should enter into an agreement in signing the document, as well as to ensure it is clearly spelled out on the document that the truck are not council's facility but the 19 wards. Furthermore, management was advised not to sign any loan agreement with Espas Ajib, but each of the wards should sign for the respective trucks 77. So, Jaja signed Jaja is the chairman of the CEO is the chairman of the contracts committee.
Yes.
And it seems this meeting is already 3 months after the contract, he already signed.
Yes.
So I don't know what they were discussing, but as far as I'm concerned, this was already done and dusted.
Exactly.
So he's best to answer what they were discussing exactly.
Yes.
But it makes absolutely no sense to me because we had already signed the contract as it is, and he signed that contract.
Yes. So
I don't know what he was referring to.
exactly. May I please say those minutes? Because, like you said, exactly, if Jaya Champs is the ones who signed the contract in March 2019, and is still stating that there were concerns still regarding the agreement
by some of the contract committee
members. Let me read it again, which says that the question was raised. A question was raised about the 19 Ward Trucks contract agreement with Espas Motors, and management is assigned to share documents signed with the company for the experts in the contract committee to verify and ensure it is not cancelled, but the words that should enter into an agreement in this signed document, as well as to ensure it is clearly spelled out on the documents that the trucks are not council's facility, but in 19 wards. Furthermore, management was advised not to sign any loan agreement with Espas, but each of the wards should sign for their respective trucks. So again, like you said, he signed in March. April, May, June, he is not saying that he is the one who is challenging the process or to state that the press was wrong, but what he was saying is a member who raised the issue that the position of council did not change, and so that if council is to go ahead and sign a contract in March that would, in the opinion of the member, or the position of the member who raised it, it would have been against the constant position of council or the contracts committee that the council should not sign this agreement.
So the discussion in that meeting, like you said, that area, I don't know what the member was actually talking about.
Right.
Because he's referring to a contract that's already signed.
Yes.
3 months after the fact.
Yes.
And they are the contracts committee who recommends and deals with GPPA.
Right.
And he's the chairman who signed the contract.
Right.
So I don't know whether it's an error in the capturing of what that person was trying to express, but it makes no sense. Why would you discuss a contract that you, the contracts committee, already signed? So it makes absolutely no sense. That's why I said maybe it's best for
Jaja
to
yes,
explain.
We will call Jaja tomorrow.
Yes, but what I was basically referring to was the concept initially was yes, let's do this through our WDCs, and yes, we would use our WDCs, and that way we can bypass GPPA, etc., all these procurement rules. But along the line, that changed.
Right.
Also, when we signed the contract, the idea was still let the WDCs operate these trucks,
right.
But along the line, that also changed. This Mbalit has always been a consistent push, our tug of war, between the wards and the councillors and the administration. But the administration was always saying, we are the accounting officers, you guys don't have capacity, we should be the implementers and not you guys. So when you said, well, how come then that is not featured in the contractual agreement? Yes, those amendments should have been made. Maybe they were brought up, I don't remember, but certainly in hindsight many things could have been corrected.
So what this tells me in 1.8 is the question I have been asking, and you have said it needs a lot of digging to find out that, for instance, the position of council or a committee will have to change by evidence of agreement, right? You agree with that?
The council?
The position of a council or a committee, for instance, if a committee holds one position, for that to change or there be a superseding position, there must be evidence of that. To say now we have said earlier at some point that this was the position, now it has changed to this. And the Act told us or tells us as to how council changes position is based on voting, right? So that's why I have asked him, because if it is raised in June, 3 months after the contract is signed, and I am not saying, for instance, whether the member is right to state that the position did not change, but if you look at the wording, it is such that it is saying that management is assigned to share the document signed with the company for the experts in the contracts committee to verify and ensure it is not council but the words that should enter into an agreement in this signing document, as well as to ensure it is clearly spelled out on the document. So that what he is saying is, or she is saying is, this was the earlier position, we want to verify when we see the contract document that you did not do otherwise. I don't know whether you see my...
Can I read that again? But I believe it is best for the contracts committee chairperson. I'm not part of those meetings, but certainly that discussion is something should have happened before they signed.
Right.
Because they are the ones who negotiate and sign. So it says, a question was raised about 19 Ward Trucks contract agreement with Espas Motors, and management is assigned to share documents signed with the company for the experts in the contract committee to verify and to ensure it is not council but the wards that should enter into the agreement in signing the document, as well as to ensure it is clearly spelled out in the document that the trucks are not council's facility but the 19 wards. Furthermore, management was advised not to sign any loan agreement with Espas Ajib. So basically, I guess it's an expert who wants to verify what they discussed so I think the chairperson of the contracts committee should answer that, who's the CEO. So maybe he had acted without consulting his experts. So maybe, but that's certainly what is implied. Good. But one thing that is clear is, as per the agreement, the trucks should be in the name of the wards and the Espas Motors, which I believe is in the agreement. And also it should not be a loan agreement, which I believe is not a loan agreement.
Not finance this initially, and then agreement is signed which shows that WDC would finance and would procure this. Now that it is evident that the WDC cannot finance this, would it not just be best to not tap from other revenue lines and do exactly what you said? The amount that was paid in the beginning was $4 million or thereabout. The amount that was paid, we see what we do with the trucks, and then we share the losses, because the contract was not very clear in the first place.
Yeah, so remember, our challenge was waste management.
Right.
We are servants of the community. Our goal is how do we clear waste from the communities?
Right.
And that was the biggest challenge in KMC.
Right.
If you remember 2017, rioters from the market dumped waste in front of the mayor's office. So that always serves as a guide to clear waste in our communities. And this was our best bet, having tapped all potentials at the time. We asked government for help, that was not coming. We were looking for grants, that was not coming. So we found this model as the best way to do it. So the goal was not about, contracts or whatnot. The goal is we need trucks to fix this problem.
Right.
How best we can do it in the most practicable way, we would do it. Along the way, of course, in hindsight, always you say, oh, we should have tried that, we should have done that, we should have corrected that. But what the council continually does is self-correct and learn on the job. True, there's always lapses, it's normal. But to learn on the job, adjust accordingly, consult, turn in the right corners, and avoid big blunders that would collapse the council. And alhamdulillah, after 3 years, we fully own the trucks, and we collect 70% of waste in the municipality.
Yes. It's because you said that you would not go for a loan facility because that will be a financial risk to council.
Yes.
But it ended up being a financial risk to council because council still keep on paying.
Not really, no.
The $4 million you paid first, was it budgeted for?
I would have to refer to what budget line they had charged that $4 million and refer to the exact budget at the time.
Okay, we have the voucher and the budget for 2019 and the payment voucher. While we are looking at it, okay, see here. Do you have the voucher with you?
No.
Okay.
Is the voucher with you?
No, the voucher is not.
Mayor Bensouda, before you proceed on that, what was the total sum paid after the 3 years?
Based on my recollection, on the 19 trucks, the contract was $105 million for the 19 trucks.
105
And there was
million.
Yes.
This is what I'm asking is what is the actual payment that was done? Because you just said a few minutes ago that after 3 years you fully paid the sum total.
105 million should be the all-inclusive cost.
That was what was paid.
Yes.
Please provide us evidence of payment of this entire 105 million.
I believe the CEO has submitted all the vouchers, according to them, all the payment vouchers.
Yes, but the reason why I'm asking, we have perused the documents.
Okay.
We cannot see the entire 105 million.
The CEO should be in a position to show.
Can you liaise with the CEO and provide us with this?
That is Jaja Cham. He's in another area council now.
Yes, but you can liaise with him to provide us with this information because it's supposed to be documents in the custody of the council.
Well, they said they submitted all their vouchers here because I've been asking for many things. They said they submitted all the vouchers here. So I think what they should show us is the budget lines they were charging this payment from, because what the council was doing, every year we would introduce a budget line for the trucks.
So just take note and liaise with Mr. Cham to provide evidence of the payment of this 105 million to Espas Motors. Whether it's through budget, whether it's through transfers, whether, to put together that information. If he has submitted this, he will contact our accounts department to verify that.
Please, because
we have gone through and we cannot do confirmations on this.
So I think he's in, because I tried to contact him for other documents, he's in France. So I think him and the Director of Finance, Serif Njai, they were the ones making these payments. When I asked them, they said they've submitted everything to the commission. So I think it would be better if we could call them and then they could...
Yes, but they are not sitting here. We have asked, and the reason why we are asking is because you are conversant with the transaction of this project. 1, 2, this were your subordinates. And it's to call them to say, I have been requested to bring these documents to the commission, and please, you know what to do. So we are requesting that you provide us with this through your staff.
I will try to ask them.
Yes. And then the other thing I wanted to add before I get you back to council is, can you also provide us with the tender documents from the bidders for this?
I believe they said they submitted all those documents.
Ma'am Chair, we have those ones.
You have the tender documents?
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yes, you wanted me to check the budget line?
Do you want to proceed?
Yes, proceed, yes.
Thank you. Yes, we want to confirm because as we've agreed the last time, looking at the financing of the Act 2004, that payments that are made must be budgeted for, so that in 2019, when the first 4 million was paid to Quantum, it should have been in the budget for the trucks.
So on this payment voucher, they're not referring to any budget line?
All right. And well, if you need time, we can give you time. But apparently, the payments that are made, if they are not budgeted for, would not be proper.
Yeah. So like I said, I don't know what budget line they use for
Yes.
this. I would love for Jaja to understand what payment line he used for this. But like I've said many a times, I believe the internal audit or national audit, usually they should bring this to the attention of the council, that there's a payment that is made, is unbudgeted, etc., so that the adjustments can be made. But one thing I know, in 2020, the amounts were inserted in our budget. I believe it was 46 million a year.
Right. So, Jaja, by this time, his limit would have been for $500,000, the limit for Jaja as CEO.
I would assume he got council approval.
Yes. Then can we wait? If there's council's approval, it will, the minutes will show that there was approval from council.
If there's council approval, I will find out. But I assume this project was approved by council and the subsequent payments were approved by council.
All right. And so, does council have authority, do you know, to approve a payment that is not budgeted for?
Yes, it's simple. You do supplementary or virement. That process usually happens.
And do you know whether virement was done for the 4 million or a supplementary budget?
These are all things the finance committee or the chairman of the contracts committee should know very well, but we can always find out.
All right, very well. We will give the witness time to find out the 4 million that was paid. At some point, we will come back to the price at some point, but then an additional 8 skip bins were procured. Do you recall this?
So there was 2 transactions, one for the Mbalit,
right.
The other one was for 4 additional trucks.
Right.
I believe one of them was a skip truck with
right.
eight. I remember 10, but they say 8 skip bins.
Yes.
you submitted. There were 2 skip trucks.
Okay, 2 skip trucks.
Yes.
And
The documents we
it should have been 10 skip bins. I'm not sure, maybe it's it.
Do we know whether this was subjected to procurement process?
I believe they were going through the same process as the Mbalit trucks.
Okay. Now, we know the 8 skip bins were not subjected to any procurement process. Now, in the minutes of meeting, Contrast Committee minutes of meeting 21st of November 2019, we have confirmed this with even the representatives of AGIP. They didn't take part in any procurement process for this. But 5.0 talks about AOB, any other business. Says the CEO referred. Sorry, 5.2. He further informed the meeting that after accepting to order and supply the additional 8 bins from the same manufacturer of two bins that come with the skip trucks to be procured, Espas Motors has delivered the bins at a unit price of $450,000, is totaling to 3.6. Observe that in efforts to verify the market price of the bins, management has sought for a quota from another company for locally made bins at a cost of $250,000 each. After thorough discussion on the matter, the meetings have suggested that management to invite Espas for a negotiation in the price that they offered compared to the other company that was way below their price. Now, in this 5.2, they were discussing the bins that Espas was charging $450,000, and which total would be 3.6 million. And when they found out through market research, they realized it is a bin would cost $250,000. Was this known to council?
So the skip bins are bought with the skips. So I don't know why that discussion should come up, because the reason you buy a skip truck is to have a complementary skip bin. So skip bins come as a complementary product to skip trucks.
Right.
But that skip truck is useless.
Yes.
So basically, I don't know why it was not part of the purchase. Like the CEO is best to answer that.
Right.
Because you cannot buy a skip truck of a certain specification and then go buy a skip bin which is not of that specification. We even had an issue in the case of Ibo Town Badala. We had a project sponsor 1 skip bin, and the councillor decided that they wanted to do a local, I think it was a WDC project called the PSUP through the Ministry of Lands and Local Government. So they gave the funds to the WDC. The councillor, instead of going to Espas, decided the WDC is going to go to a local welding person. They created a skip bin. It's still stuck in Ibo Town Badala because there's no compatibility with our trucks. Our trucks cannot lift it. Good. So when you are buying a skip truck, you should always buy the complementary skip bin.
Yes.
Or it's not compatible.
Exactly. So very correct. Now, how would council supervise this? Because to make sure that the additional procurement that was done, if there is need to do additional procurement based on the fault of council through its committees as well, through its committees, would it be right to go ahead with the procurement without following due process?
Well, they have to follow the due process, meaning they have to go through another procurement. So like I said, the chairman of the committee, I can't remember whether this was ever brought to the council. I assumed it was part of one purchase.
The same with the truck. So 5.1 reads, the CEO referred the committee to its decision at the 31st December meeting for the acquisition of 8 additional skip trucks, buckets, bracket bins that was oversighted in the specification during the procurement process of the council trucks. He emphasized that on a monthly basis, council outsources the management of the various communal dump sites at strategic positions within the municipality at an exorbitant cost, and it is prudent to provide an everlasting solution. So again, the bins together with the trucks, so the skip trucks, you realize that 8 of them were still subjected to procurement without following GP regulations.
So I guess he realized there was an oversight issue. So they should have come back to the same process,
Yes.
correct that oversight issue.
Now,
But we assume that
Yes,
came
okay.
as a complementary product. Yeah.
okay. Now, what was Council's responsibility in making sure? Because if we talk about back to the issue of authorization for withdrawal,
Yeah.
and the CEO at the time who signs checks and the finance director together, they know they cannot sign checks of these amounts without following due process. The limit at the time was $500,000. Now, who has the responsibility to make sure they perform their oversight function in making sure that there is procurement adherence procedures?
So this could be traced by internal audit, it could be traced by the finance committee, local government accounts committee, or the national audit office. But to my knowledge, nobody traced this.
Now, were they delivered?
The skip buckets here with the trucks.
Okay. Now, if they were delivered, would that not, because the approval is only for 19 trucks. So if they were delivered, should questions not be asked by council to say, well, we never had approval for this. We only had approval for 19 trucks and that's it. And that should be paid for.
So to the council's knowledge and to my knowledge, it's a complementary, like I said. You cannot buy skip trucks without
Right.
skip buckets. So we see them together. It's obvious that these things are coming together. So it's a complementary, it's the only way a skip truck can work is with a skip bucket.
But if you have a skip bucket that fits the specification, why purchase it?
Say it again?
If you have a skip bin, let's say you want to procure 10 trucks, in your case 19 trucks, KMC, but there are already skip bins that are available. Let's assume they were available. Now, you can still buy the trucks without the bins.
No. So I think maybe, so in the areas that are termed as communal dumps,
Right.
so the previous council used to hire a company, or
Right.
one of its councillors.
Right.
They will place trucks in strategic area.
Right.
So Bundung Jola Kunda, Bafo Zone, Bakau Nene Wale, Bakau Cape Point, Carnifing South. So these trucks, because they don't have waste collection, these trucks will be parking there all day.
Right.
So members of the community will bring their trash to these collection points. When the truck is full, it will go to the backwater dump site and come back. But remember, these are just areas that are strategic dump sites, meaning if you don't leave the truck there, the community will turn it into a dump site. When KMC, our KMC came, the practice continued, but not with the old contractor. The management found a new contractor, but it's exorbitantly expensive because these trucks would have to stay in these locations. You can be paying hundreds of thousands of dollars. It doesn't solve the household collection of waste. What it solves is the illegal dumps. Because now if you move these trucks away, people still come and dump. Eventually you will have to hire a shovel loader at $40,000 a day to shovel these waste into another truck. So that can cost you $100,000 for even one dump site. So basically the strategy, the waste management strategy, as per our Director of Services or Department of Services, is the council needs two solutions. One, how do we get rid of illegal dump sites or communal dump sites? And two, how do we collect waste at the household level? So the compactor trucks are brought to collect waste at the household level. The skip trucks are a strategic machinery that can now get rid of these communal dumps. So one skip truck can drop many skip bins. They take it from the annex, drop it at the strategic location. Go back to the annex, pick another one, drop it. When it's full, the attendant will call the truck to come pick it, tip it at the dump site, and bring the skip back. So the skip bin has to be compatible with the skip truck. So they are sold as a complementary product. They cannot be sold separately. However, some local weldermen look at it and say, oh, I can also recreate the skip bin, like in the case of Ibotown Bardala. They tried and they failed. When the skip truck goes, it has compatibility issues. It cannot pick the bin. Now KMC has about 30 skip bins and about, I believe, 30 skip bins and 4 skip trucks. When one is full, they pick, they tip, they return. They pick and tip and return. So that is the essence of that skip bin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you say it is sold as a complementary,
yes,
together with the trucks, what would you mean by that?
So, what example can I use? So it's a complementary product. It's like a telephone and a SIM card. So you cannot use a telephone without a SIM card. So
right, but we buy telephones all the time, and then they don't give you SIM cards, Mr. Ben.
Well, with technology now, but imagine when you had 3310 without a SIM card, Yeah. So this is basically the SIM card to the telephone. It's a complementary.
So when you buy it from Africell or QCell and they have their promotions, it comes with a SIM card. Yes, I have bought.
SIM card debate, but
you brought it up.
It's a complementary product. Basically, yes. They sort of connect.
Right.
Right. So the challenge now, if you go to a local welder, I mean, we have very good welders.
Yes.
But they are not using computers. They are not using machines that are welding to precision.
Right.
So that skip bin in Ibo Town, when it lifted it, right, it couldn't go on the skip truck.
So let me give it a definition the way I understand it. So you are saying you can't have a skip bin without a skip truck without having a skip bin.
No.
Is that what you meant by complementary?
Yes, it's basically useless.
Okay, good. And I agree with that. Now, to bring it back to procurement issues, right? So you need a skip bin and you need a skip truck. So it's complementary, and that's how it's supposed to work. Because if you have a skip truck and you don't have the bin that fits well with the truck, then there's no point, right? No point. Now, do you buy them together or do you buy them separate?
You have to buy them together.
Okay.
It makes no sense.
Now, if it is to be bought together and it is not bought together, is that Espace's fault or KMC's fault?
There's definitely a lapse somewhere. Somebody was not paying attention.
Where?
Was not doing their job.
Who was that?
Well, Espace shouldn't sell a truck without a bin, but definitely the onus of responsibility is on the CEO, who should ensure that it's compatible. But maybe he was not knowledgeable at the time or too busy.
How about council?
CEOs of KMC are too busy. Well, I think from our impression, how it was presented, was these are complementary products.
So, which means if the understanding of council, see the importance now of having very clear terms of in a contract. So, if the understanding of council is such that the trucks come with the skip bin, right? And you receive the trucks, 19 trucks, and you realize that they did not come with skip bins, right?
I believe they were delivered together.
Sorry, the eight. They were all of them are delivered together?
I believe so, yes.
Yes, but what I mean for the pricing, what you've paid for. So what you've paid for is 19 trucks, and you have to subsequently pay more for the bins, right? So who bears the financial burden? If the understanding of KMC or the General Council is that they come together. So now who has the financial burden when it is not factored in the contract?
So if it's not factored in the contract, definitely it should have been advised by Espace, but the responsibility, like I said, is with the customer, which is the council, through its CEO. So how it fell through the cracks where nobody saw it, like I said, the councils rely on the expertise of contracts committees and the CEOs to ensure that it is done.
Yes.
And if it's not done, it should have been brought back to the council and say, look, we did this mistake. We have to go through another procurement process, etc. Now, this has to all be captured, of course, during the meetings, etc.
Yes, because it appears as if, for instance, like you said, you guys are coming in newly, but then if for the most part of it is, there are things that are done based on natural expectation that, the trucks would have to come with bins. That is what we thought, that is what we expect to happen. Remember, as an organization, a procurement organization, you would be tying public funds to these procurement. and therefore subsequently every dollar has turned out to be millions, for instance. Every dollar would be scrutinized in this manner. So even GPPA, the award of contract, you will see it's very clear, it's just only for 19 trucks, yes, specifically. And then subsequently, the trucks were delivered. When the trucks were delivered, and then you realize that there were no skip bins, was there an examination and receipt committee to receive these trucks and find out?
So from my memory, the trucks were delivered with skip bins. I remember the skips were assembled. The skips come dismantled and were assembled at Espas through welding. Now I think the realization of whatever they missed out was between the contract signing and delivery, because that took about 4 or 5 months. So like you said, it should have been detected by a committee, or it should have been detected by somebody. CEOs, in my opinion, are overwhelmed. So they are dealing with too many things. So the supporting departments should have also advised, like the Department of Services, internal audit, etc., etc. But I think they realized their mistake and tried to correct it, but definitely should have consulted not just the contracts committee, but the General Council. So
the conclusion is they did not consult the General Council?
Based on my memory, I thought they came as a compatible purchases.
Yes, my point is Jaja, as CEO, did not consult the General Council, because General Council had a say in this. They took part in this.
So I believe the General Council bought, in my opinion, both the skip trucks and the skip bins.
Right.
Because it just goes without saying.
Yes.
But I think maybe what is discussed and what is on paper were different.
Yes.
So that's why he was trying to correct.
Yes. So that's why I said in making the subsequent payments and procurement, Jaja, did he consult the General Council?
I would have to go back to see if there's any record of that consultation.
Okay, so if Jaja did not consult council, then he would not have, based on the threshold, the power to withdraw the money.
No, he has to go through the contracts committee, go through the General Council, go back to another tendering process, etc., etc. Although GPPA sometimes can give exemptions for things like that, but you need express approval.
Okay. We will wait for you to provide us with clarity on that issue. The other is the pricing. Now, there were numerous invoices that were sent to KMC. Now, I'll just give you this document so you can guide us through what the unit price was per truck.
One page, sorry.
Okay, I can assist you. There are several.
Okay, I can look through it.
Okay.
So there's 2 contracts. There's one with the 4 trucks and the other with the 19 trucks.
Yes. So let's start with the 19 trucks, please.
So I have the global sum for the 19 trucks, which was 2.3 million USD. This was okay. I have the Dalasi amount. Maybe.
Yes.
Okay, so the Dalasi amount for the 19 trucks is $105 million.
Yes.
Yeah.
The unit price?
The unit price, I don't see here, but divided by 19, somewhere around 5.5. So.
5.5. Is there should be an invoice there where we have the unit price? I can assist you with that.
Yes, can you just help me find the unit price?
About. So we have one for sent to you on the 27th of December 2018. It doesn't have the unit price, but it has the total price, which is 2.3 US dollars, and then the price for the 19 trucks duty free is 1.8, and there is another.
Mayor Bensouda, looking at the documents, particularly Exhibit 012, 013, and 014, which is in relation to the trucks. You would realize that there was no proper proposal from these exhibits that were tendered yesterday. There were no proper proposal, that is a proper feasibility study on all of this.
So the project manager, Bakari Singate, I was trying to get documents from him. He sent me some documents, but there's no feasibility. I've submitted a concept. Okay. But like I said, I've also submitted some documents where they were trying to...
Yes, I believe the concept note is just to show, to apportion responsibility.
Right.
To indicate who are the parties that are going to be responsible and what they are going to be responsible for.
Right, so he should have had those project documents. I remember being presented at the council, but there was no feasibility study. Like you've said, there were surveys by the WDCs and the councillors, yes. Which I...
Yes, I have seen the survey, which inform what the budget is all about.
Right.
Okay, you can proceed and ask.
Yes, 105 million, which was 5.5 million, 31,309 per truck.
Is the unit price?
Yes.
Where was KMC given information as to the actual price that Futon was selling it for?
No, that is not. We don't ask vendors what they buy for.
Why is that?
That is not the practice.
Okay, but would it not be better so that you would not be sold a truck at a unit price that will be very exorbitant?
That does not exist in procurement. You buy based on the competitive bids you receive, but you don't ask a vendor how much profit they make or how much they bought it for, and they wouldn't tell you.
Okay, but you should. The requirement is that there has to be market research, so that the procurement process demands that every procurement organization must engage first in market research before they procure any goods or item.
So the contract committee could look at market research as far as competitive offers, not the profitability of vendors, but the prices on the market. Okay,
so I'm not asking about the profitability. So because I can decide to purchase a bottle of water and then for $10 and I sell it for $100, right? If there's no price control, it just means perhaps that if I am into any competitive process in the case of bidding, other suppliers will perhaps have contracts and I would not because of the pricing. The issue with respect to the requirements by the procurement is that the procuring organization must engage in market research first so that they know the market prices for every goods and that they want to purchase. And this would be incorporated in the procurement plan for the year. So that when you know generally what the market price is, then you can negotiate. But if you don't know what the market price is, how would negotiations be done?
Yeah, so procuring organization can do preemptive market research, and then they know, okay, these are the general prices of goods in the market. They can also do the public tender. I think the public tender is also another market research. It's a competitive process. Who has the best value, who has the best price, offer it, and they can compare and compete. Yeah.
What is preemptive market research?
Pardon?
What is preemptive market research?
Well, meaning you don't know what products you're going to buy, but you have an idea, and then you create a vendors list or the average prices of goods in the market.
Is that a requirement in the GPA Act?
But it's good practice, you can do that. When we first came into office, that's one of the things we discussed as potentially doing, because there was a lot of briefcase vendors. All they do is they will go to a furniture store, create their own invoice, put their margin on top of the furniture stores, and then come and sell to the council. Whereas the council could have gone directly to that furniture store and save some money. So it's good practice for a procuring organization. It was once mentioned by the accounts committee to get an idea of prices in the market.
So where you have expressed regulation with respect to market research, and it is very clear as to what every organization should do that involves in public procurement, that you have a procurement plan which would be informed by the activities of council in the ensuing year, and then you engage in a market research to know the market prices, so that this has to be done before procurement even takes place. Now, that is a requirement, that is a mandatory requirement by GPA Regulations and Act, that market research has to be done, so that when you're buying a bottle of water, you know exactly what the market price is, and you have it documented. Right. Now, if the organization now resorts to practice, that would defeat the requirements of GPA Act and regulations in relation to market research.
No, I said the preemptive one is good practice. But when contracts committee sits and they're deciding on procuring an item, they should investigate what is the going rate, and the best way is through a competitive tender, and they can do research, like you said, market research.
The idea is there's no preemptive research provided for by the Act. Well, not that I'm aware of, by the Act or the regulation. So it must have been provided by the Act to say that this is what you do, these are the things you should do. So the preemptive can be a good practice. I don't doubt. I don't know what it means, to be honest, and even as you say it. But the research, market research that is provided for is what is to be complied with by procurement organizations. Understand that? So do you know whether market research was done in accordance with the Procurement Act and Regulation?
In regard to the trucks?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe they found the best price at the time, given what we were looking at, because we are looking at pre-financing, we are looking at a certain size of truck. So they presented the best price to the council.
Yes, but do we have evidence of market research?
I think the public tender is evidence of that.
No, it's different. Public tender is now, you have now started procurement.
Yes, but if you advertise and say, I want a pencil, everybody willing and able to provide this pencil come forward. People who come forward, that is your market research, and then you can go further to scrutinize and say, okay, but what is the going rate on the internet, or what is, and you ask around and you get a good idea and you make a procurement decision. Sometimes, for me, if I was able to change law, I would say government should buy direct from abroad if they have the money. But in this case, we did not have the money.
Why would you do that?
Well,
you don't want to support local businesses?
No. I want to support local businesses. But like I said, well, we can go into policy debates and my vision for the Gambia, but I don't think that is going to be necessary. But I believe that when you tender, all the local players come forward and then you can negotiate to get the best value for money.
Okay, so we'll just proceed from that.
Yeah.
So, but that would not be...
Sorry, yes. I don't think Mayor Bensouda, that answers the question. Because the tendering is, you are putting the, you are requesting for certain product, which you have a prior knowledge of what it is, the quality, the specifications and everything, including cost. But before you are able to come up with that, I believe what the regulation is saying is that you must be able to know what you're looking for first, before you are able to put that in a document to allow people to come in and say, I can offer at this cost for what you are asking for. So if you don't know what you're looking for, and you have not had the opportunity to verify, do you understand, those cost elements, do you think you can reliably rely on the tender documents that you have?
Okay, so I think lead counsel is asking about market research for prices. What you're referring to is product specification. So
no, what I mean is, if you have a tender document, it gives you all the information. If you ask for a tender, I believe you have a document that is asking for specifics, including cost and specifications, right? But you, as the procuring organization, you must first understand what you're looking for. And you must also know what you're looking for. And you must also know your budget. And that is why the regulation is saying you must conduct your survey, your market survey, to know exactly what you're looking for and at what competitive price you would be looking at when you receive these tender documents.
So I think in this case, the contracts committee had the internal expertise to build the procurement documents with the specifications,
yes,
and the idea of what product they were looking for, and an idea of what price they were looking for.
So in this instance, were you aware that the procurement committee had an informed research about what the pricing is?
Yes, because they do present to council in a very specific manner. This is what we were looking for, these are the price we were looking for, these are the people who responded, and this is our idea on the best way forward.
Was it a report that was sent to council?
The contract committee chair, who is the CEO, always presents a report to the general council.
Please let us have that information.
I'll ask it.
Yes. Councillor.
Yeah, so I'm sure we will close very soon. So we'll come back to what I meant by the act referring to market research. So the idea, I appreciate you understand it, but the idea is that before procurement is even started, that the company or the business or the institution that is bound by GPPA regulations must first obtain and have a knowledge as to the items they will be procuring, because you have a procurement plan for the year, right? KMC will have a procurement plan for the year, or any institution, and then based on that, in that procurement plan, you will know whether you are going to buy 10 air conditioners and 5 vehicles and so on and so forth. And for each of those items, the law is that you must first have a prior knowledge, so that you know exactly what the market price is. Now, it doesn't have to be static. It doesn't have to be exactly a fixed amount. We have a fair idea first, so that when you now invite the bidders, you now know that this is the prevailing acceptable price. So I'll give an example. Like the example I will give, let's say iPhone 15, right? And then you want to procure iPhone 15, and then you don't know the price, and you have 4 suppliers who are selling these items at a very exorbitant price that you would not usually buy if you know the price, right? The price is, let's say, $50,000, and each of them is starting $100,000 plus. So it is time to discourage ignorance of prices before procuring activities are conducted.
So the issue with the waste compactor trucks, I think KMC is the first ever organization to buy compactor trucks for waste in the Gambia. In terms of basically the schematics and the processes the contracts committee went through to determine price is exactly, I think the CEO would be best to know, or one of the experts. What we know from the council level is A, these are the respondents, B, these are the prices, and of course the councillors and the council want a discount. There was a push for, well, can they reduce the price, because everybody is concerned about repayment. And I believe the original price was 115 million, and the vendor eventually agreed to a 10 million discount on the Mbalit trucks. Now, in terms of iPhones, etc., I think those prices are pretty well known. Now, based on, I can tell you from my personal travels, based on my experience, the trucks that inspired this project, for example, in Madison City, which is a sister city to KMC, in Wisconsin, the trucks they're using, when I asked them, they procure for about $300,000 per unit. That's what the fleet manager responds. The ones they use in Belgium and Europe is also around $250,000. So the ones we are procuring are, I think, shy of $100,000. That's my perspective based on my own asking. But in terms of the schematics, the processes, the contract committee use in terms of devising what are the going rates for these types of trucks, they know best. But in terms of us, the buyers, the councillors and myself, what we look at is who offered what and what is the most competitive.
So an example is what we found in the contract committee meeting minutes of the 21st of November 2019 that I had read earlier with respect to the 8 additional skip truck buckets or bins that were procured, right? And so that when you read 5.2, it talks about the prices when Espas Motors wanted to sell at the price of $450,000, which would total 3.6 million for what was to be procured. And then they are saying they know the market price is $250,000. Now they have a bargaining chip. Now they know that what Espas is asking is significantly higher than what obtains in the market. So the reason for market survey is what you are doing in effect is having value for money. Value for money. So when they said this, even though it was already done, KMC went ahead and procured these stocks from Espas Motors, but then you would have done it at a higher price, because according to the minutes, the the market price is $250,000. It's significantly less. So that's what an evidence of market survey is.
So the minutes are not referring to the trucks, they're referring to the skip buckets.
Yes, yes.
And I wouldn't call the local welders' price the market survey. I think the local welder is saying what they can make locally versus the standard imported skip bucket. Now, as you've brought to my attention, this was not brought through the right procurement process, or we would have probed further. But from my experience, after the fact, the Ibotan Badala skip bucket that was made by a local welder, he couldn't make it to specification, so it was a waste of $250,000, and the truck could not lift it. What we've known in procurement throughout my time in KMC, cheapest does not mean better, it just means cheapest.
Yes.
It could be low quality, it could be not up to standard, could be not the specs you're looking for, but it should go through a process to test whether the price is because of the quality or the price is truly just cheaper. So in the case of the trucks, the open tender is done. I believe from my recollection there was two bidders. There was TK Motors and Espas. But I believe the edge that Espas had was not because of price. It was because of mostly the financing and I believe the ability to customize to the terrain.
No, the issue with respect to the market survey, where I read this, is to show you what market survey can do. Now, of course, if you are awarding a contract, you don't just look at the cheapest. No, you don't. It is a factor where you roll out your technical specification. You expect that the bidders will match the technical specification, where they all match it and they meet your financial requirements and the others. You go for the cheapest. We all have the same product and everything, the same quality and all that, based on the technical specification we have rolled out. Then the cheapest is what should be opt for, right? So the idea was to show you that market survey, they realize that they have to do market survey and have advanced knowledge of prices before they engage in that. Now, the $994,875 is purchased, paid for the 19 trucks. Yes. We see a column for financing because the amount that Espas got it from Futon is definitely not the same amount that they sold it to KMC. Now, the financing, what do they mean by financing? Do you know? You
mean in this same table, the same invoice?
I'm not sure whether the one you have, you see, I mean the invoice, whether you have a financing column there. Do you have it?
So in the invoice, you have 19 compactor trucks at 150 million, which was an original unit price of 6,057,000. Then there's a special discount of 10 million, which is a discount of 526,000 per unit. And then there's a final price of 5.5 million, which says finance inclusive, meaning the interest is inclusive in the 5.5 million.
Does KMC know what this finance is, in specific terms, what it involves?
The CEO should have documents that should show it. I will ask him. There should be documents that show this is the column, and this is your financing cost. This is the unit cost without your financing. That should be very clear.
Yes. Okay, so we will wait for that as well. Because what we see is, as far as we are concerned, I think we have told this to Jim Gay, that it appears that what they will be charging for financing will probably be too much, and had the procurement organization engaged in market survey, they probably would not have agreed to one or two or three issues in relation to the financing and the price. So we don't see the contract clearly outlining the financing, the amount that is involved, so that KMC will have information about this.
Don't quote me on it, but I believe what I saw at the time
Right.
The trucks without the financing was 4.9 million.
Okay.
So meaning the financing over the 3 years was around 500,000.
Right.
The issue with the, like you said, can you shop around for financing? I don't think that was flexible in the tendering. What the tendering was saying was pre-financed trucks. So it's a tight sale. The vendor should provide the financing. So what KMC will look at is the joint final price and not segregated.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll wait for the information that you want to, that you may provide. Now, did you guys discuss about the insurance of the vehicles, who pays what? And another issue that was discussed is the customization of the vehicles. Do we know what was to be customized and how?
So, of course, when you buy on pre-finance, meaning now the vehicles are not yours, there's the risk of accident.
Right.
So in insurance practice, with banking or financing of vehicles, they have to be fully insured under comprehensive cover. So the administration decides that. On the issue of the customization, the council was very particular about our terrain. We know 95% of Gambia is without roads, and KMC is no exception. But our roads, I would say KMC roads are very interesting. They have a lot of rocks because of the erosion. And of course, there was an issue with our dump site. Our dump site is the biggest dump site in the country and has a lot of metals. So can these trucks climb on the waste piles? And will the tires be able to withstand sharp ordnance in the dump site? So I think these were all concerns. There was also concerns in terms of capacity. We have 35,000 households. Will these trucks be able to handle wards? So that's another concern. So durability, quality, capacity, the size of the trucks, all of these things. So these are all happening as we go, as councillors raise concerns.
Right.
So the wisdom was we need not standard trucks that would operate in the source country, because those countries are very different. They are well paved, more organized, wider streets. They have landfills, we don't. So how do we make sure these can withstand the terrain of our municipality?
So was that done? The customization?
I believe at some point the vendor brought in experts from the manufacturer, okay, to do a study of the terrain, and I believe they paid for the finance director and I believe the deputy mayor to travel to China, right, to visit their premises and to hold further discussions.
Right. But do we know whether it was finally done?
Whether they traveled?
No, whether the customization of the vehicles was done?
Yes, it was done because they came down before the vehicles were manufactured. So these vehicles were manufactured from scratch, okay, as per the...
So do we have any document to show that this is the usual specs for the vehicle and all that, and then this is what is changed to meet the customizing? Because they could just say it on paper, but you wouldn't have it.
I will ask this. What I remember, they came on the ground.
Yes.
And they went with the councillors on the ground, right, and the dump site.
Yes, because we tried to find out, but we did not see evidence of customizing these vehicles.
Yes, because even these trucks, they have what they call, I don't know the technical name, it's like a shovel, right, at the back.
Right.
So that was a customization because the saying was that we don't have bins at the time. So how do you lift these heavy waste into the back of the trucks? It would hurt the laborers. So they customized and added a shovel at the back. So they will roll the waste on it and they will pick it from the floor and tip it into the back. So the customization, I can verify, was done. But the documentation as to how it was customized, that I will have to ask the CEO.
Yes, thank you.
Let me just ask, on the same issue, on the customization, you have said that the vendor made arrangements for the company to come in to look at the terrain.
The manufacturer.
And having realized that they have seen, the narrowness, because you've explained it,
Yes.
the narrowness of the streets, on accessibility, you understand, and the difficulty, you understand, in getting to certain areas and all that stuff. But what KMC did realize at the end of the day was the issue of the high consumption of fuel with respect to these trucks. And was this thing not looked into when the team came? Because when you did your KPIs, based on the documents, that is Exhibit 014, the bundle of documents that we admitted, realized that it's one of the highest in terms of cost element, which made the project very difficult to attain its objective.
So the issue of the fuel was not because of the engine. We ascertained it was because of theft and siphoning of the council's fuel and the manner in which they were issuing coupons. They were issuing at for standard amount every month or every week. They did not check whether the truck was parked, whether the driver attended. They would keep the same amount of coupons. So there was no retirement. So eventually what we did was we started putting sensors. We did two things. We welded the tank so they cannot siphon the fuel. We also put fuel sensors in the fuel. Now we have a screen that shows how much fuel is being consumed.
Yes, but let me just interrupt. Sorry to interrupt here. But in one of the meeting minutes, what it did indicate, it actually said something like that, but one of the reasons that they highlighted was the fact that the train wasn't good because there's a lot of traffic jam, there is a lot of, you understand, the capacity of the drivers in the way they control the braking and all the stuff of the trucks. That is what makes the trucks consume a lot of fuel.
So there was,
it's in the meeting minutes.
Yes, I know exactly, because
yes.
What happened when we come to the council, there's a lot of debates. People make their own assumptions and conclusions.
Yes.
And in these minutes, of course, everybody has information they believe they had. So when we had the KETP project, we said we cannot base our decision based on rumors or this is what I think or this is what I was told. So that's why we created sensors. Now we have sensors to know how fast the driver is going, how much time they spend in traffic, what speed they're driving at, what level the fuel is at. We have that now. Now everything is on screen.
Yes.
So when even a truck is idle at a particular location for too long, we know it.
So would we now, would we be correct to say that on the issue of customization, when it comes to the fuel consumption element, that was not really taken care of? Because the assessment that was done revealed that this is one of the reasons. Aside from the theft of the fuel and all that, you understand, there were some technical problems, which they could have picked up when they came to do the assessment. Because they have seen the traffic, they have seen the challenges.
So how do I put this? So this is the first time actually I'm hearing about consumption, part of the engine. What we've heard from both the experts and the people working with the trucks is the issue of poor management of the fuel, the issue of young drivers who were speeding as opposed to older drivers who drive more calmly. We also heard about the issue of basically taking coupons and not using it. So it is a management issue rather than an engine issue. The engine issue was taken care of during the customization because these were Cummins engines. So one of the selling points was these will not be Chinese engines. They are going to be engines made by Mercedes-Benz. They're going to be there is going to be Cummins engines, same that are used by Mercedes-Benz vehicles. So these are very good engines, durable, fuel efficient. So the engine was sold very well to the council. And even when the team went to China, they were taken into a showroom to display the power of Cummins engines. Because at the time when you say we are buying from China, everybody's like concerned. Will it be durable? Will it be the standard stereotypes we hear about? So the engine was sold very well. But I can tell you for sure, the issue of the fuel is poor management, theft, and lack of monitoring or irresponsible behavior on the road.
Answer. You may proceed.
Yes, so the insurance, I think we will discuss the insurance. I see the 1721. So we will continue with the rest tomorrow. Now, the issue of the insurance. Now, these are all supposed to be subject to procurement. So the first question is, was it subject to procurement? Does council know?
So the insurance, I believe at some point was paid for by ESPAS.
Yes, so we have a letter on the 22nd of July 2019 signed by Jaja Cham, the acting chief executive officer, which reads, it is addressed to the chief executive officer, ESPAS Motors, Battle Harding Highway, payment of insurance cover for the 19 Ward WDC compactor trucks. But the management of council wish to have the 19 WDC compactor trucks issued, and in this regard would like to contribute $1 million to this payment, which is 50% of the amount, and balance to be met by the Ward Development Committee in due course. We would like to request ESPAS to pay the balance of 50% and spread that amount for the WDCs to be settled by the respective 19 wards within 12 calendar months. We thank you and look forward to your usual cooperation. So, council, there was an issue with respect to insurance. Who pays what?
I remember that issue.
Yes. Can you please guide us?
I believe initially what was agreed was we will share the cost of the insurance as per the agreement or the discussions, and the issue came to the council that ESPAS will go ahead and insure all the vehicles on comprehensive, and council will pay for half of it. That's basically what I can remember. As to whether the WDC should refund ESPAS or not, that portion I cannot remember.
Yes, so ESPAS, of course, wrote a letter on the 30th of July 2019. It reads, as attached KMC reference letter dated the 22nd of July 2019, requesting ESPAS Motors to partly finance the WDC compactor truck insurance after an initial contribution of $1 million from KMC. Please proceed upon receipt of KMC $1 million to settle the balance of $929,805 services motors, and as part financing to be settled by KMC WDC awards over a period of 1 year. Now, see, why was all this not factored in the agreement? Do we know?
Well, I think those issues were not thought of by the contracts committee. I used to work in the insurance industry.
Right.
So one thing I always said to the council that you cannot take a vehicle on a loan and not have it comprehensively insured, because if it has an accident, everybody loses. So that vehicle must be protected. I think these discussions came in the subsequent council meetings. Like I said, I was learning on the job.
Right.
This was a new experience for all of us.
Yes.
But now, as to how the sharing was done with ESPAS, that is what I cannot determine exactly.
That was why I said that, be it as it may, whether it's a loan or not, the risk you were talking about, the financial risk, still exists in several ways. If you don't have a very detailed contract which outlines, because all you see, and by you I mean KMC, all you see is just, let's procure 19 trucks. And I appreciate the fact that you said that lying on the job, we're all new, we were all working at this time, wanted it to work, and does it. And so when you were to purchase 19 trucks, so many things come with 19 trucks, so that the risk you were trying to avoid, the financial risk you were trying to avoid, keeps on resurfacing when you least expect it. You see that? Like $1 million is when it was not contemplated.
Well, there cannot be zero risk. There's acceptable risk, risk that is not acceptable. Risk that is not acceptable is putting taxpayers' wealth at risk. I guess that's what prompted the insurance part of it.
Right.
Because in a case, for example, let's say we have paid $50 million to ESPAS and the trucks are uninsured, and a fire breaks out at the annex, all the trucks burn, we cannot share with ESPAS that value. That money is gone. That's why you have to insure until you can go past that hurdle.
Now, whose responsibility is it to insure to the vehicle?
Director of Administration.
I mean, both the parties, ESPAS and KMC.
I believe ESPAS was responsible for the insurance.
Yes, but KMC still paid.
KMC counterpaid as per the agreement.
Not the agreement. There was more of like a gentleman's understanding.
Not the contractual agreement, but the agreement outside of the.
Right. So that KMC should have insisted by your answer that ESPAS pays the insurance.
So the burden on the insurance is always with the customer, it's
right.
not with the vendor. That is because the customer is just selling you a vehicle. You have to protect that vehicle since you're the one taking it on loan. So the issue of sharing that cost, I don't know how that discussion went, but from the seams of it, the CEO was trying to plead to ESPAS, can you help us insure these vehicles?
Yes, so that if by this time, remember the ownership of the vehicle, the issues we have seen is that ownership still remains with ESPAS. In fact, there was a communication, I will show you perhaps tomorrow, that there was a request for a change or of name and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
so,
if I can see that document.
Yeah.
Because from the understanding of the council, it should be in the joint name of ESPAS and the WDC.
Yes.
And that should also feature in the insurance.
Right.
Which is actually standard with banks that are giving loans.
Exactly. Now, the insurance too, I'm not sure that I've asked this, should it also be subject to procurement process?
It should be subject to procurement if it was done by KMC.
Right. No, but the funds of KMC paid $1 million. So the $1 million they paid should be subject to procurement.
Well, it's quite complicated the way it is structured.
Right.
Because I guess the thinking was it is structured in the form of a PPP.
Right.
But ESPAS is doing the procurement.
Right.
But like I said, this is tricky ground.
Right.
So in hindsight, a lot of things could have been streamlined better.
Right. But just to clear this, so when KMC wrote through Jaya Cham that they would be paying $1 million for the insurance, that is money leaving the coffers to other entities, right? To other insurance companies. So the requirement that is expressed in the law is that for all those, it has to be subject to procurement. I do not see an exception to that.
Yeah, so like I said, these things could have been made better.
Right.
Could have been best practice or whatnot. But that's why it's important that some of these external bodies function and guide the council accordingly. But these issues are being raised here now, and I see this rationale and I see the sense. But in hindsight at the time, it seemed practical.
Okay. If there are questions, we can entertain them. If not, we'll proceed with this tomorrow.
We can proceed tomorrow. We may rise.
Madam Chair, can I just...
Yes.
Yes, so tomorrow at 1 o'clock I have international call. KMC shortlisted for $1 million grant by Bloomberg, and I have to be part of the call. So I don't know.
When is the call ending?
The call is at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
In the afternoon.
Yes.
So probably
it cannot be more than 2 hours.
It cannot be more than?
I don't think it can be more than 2 hours. But
2 hours. Okay, we will come by 10, and then when we break, you understand, she will give you the opportunity to attend. All right? We may rise.